Welcome to the Cashing In on Creativity podcast with artist, author, and creative business consultant, Bruce Outridge. Let's get started making money with your unique talent. On with the show.
Hello, welcome to the Cashing In on Creativity podcast. I'm your host, Bruce Outridge, and today we are going to talk with Rita Burgett-Martell. Now, Rita is an organizational change consultant for Fortune 500 clients. She's a career coach. She's helped 11,000 individuals. She's the author of 2 books, Change Ready, How to Turn Change Resistance into Change Readiness, and Defining Moments, Seizing the Power of Second Chances to Create the Life You Want. You can find those books on Amazon. Now, she has got an incredible story. She was a wife at 18, a mother at 20, a student at 29, and a business owner at 35. It's almost like she did things backwards when you hear about her story. And we talk about what are defining moments and when should you, how can you be ready for when life throws things at you that you don't expect? Maybe a job loss, or you want to launch a business, or you don't feel that you have the right education, or any of those big life-defining moments. We talk about them and how to get past them. So make sure you join us on the show with Rita Burgett-Martell as we talk about changing your life. Hey folks, are you thinking of sending out newsletters? Are you looking for a way to communicate with your audience? Then Constant Contact has the best way to do that, and they have a special on for you. Here's how we do it. You go to the cashinginOnCreativityPodcast.com and just click on the logo for Constant Contact, and you're going to get my special deal. So this is a partner program, but go on through there. You don't have to deal with me at all. You're going to deal with Constant Contact. I have been using them for years. I started using them back in 2007 when I wanted to start putting out my own newsletter. I've used them consistently every month. I use them for other people's newsletters, and they are an amazing, amazing program to be with. They've updated over the years. It's very easy to use, and you can do a lot of it. If you're the kind of person that's doing webinars or events or anything like that, you can use it for that. So you've probably heard of other programs. I've been using Constant Contact, and what I like is they have personal solutions for you. They'll have somebody that you can contact if you need help. They put on a lot of educational stuff around the areas. And so it's a good program that is more than just an email newsletter list. You can create newsletters, you can create emails, you can create invitations, you can create whatever you need to do electronically. Constant Contact is for you. So where do you find out more? Go to cashinginOnCreativityPodcast.com and click on the link for Constant Contact. All right, everybody, I have Rita Burgett-Martell on the phone. How are we doing today, Rita?
Doing great.
Good. So you were connected through, I guess, your producer or somebody on your team here, and you are a change expert, which I find fascinating. I find that I'm always in a flux of change. You have an amazing intro here, which you've done everything. That's all I can say is you've done everything. I'm not going to read this, but the people will have heard the intro when they start this. But let's get into you. Tell us, you're a career coach, a change expert, an author. Tell us what you're doing now and how you got to where you are today.
Well, currently I'm focusing more on working with individuals. My expertise is managing change. And I got into that line of work really before it was a profession. It's a profession now. You can have a PhD in leading change. But back when I started, it was just driven by what I had done with my own life, the changes I had made. I was born into a family where no one had graduated from high school, let alone think about college. So coming from that kind of background, I always questioned why we had to continue to live that way. Right. So, met my husband when I was 16, married at 18, had my first daughter at 20, wow. Second at 25, and then started college at 29. And that was a change that totally created a whole new direction for me. And I really didn't know what I was going to do when I started college. I just knew that it would open doors, and it definitely did. So after I graduated, I started a women's center in Nashville. It was a very radical thing to do back then because I just wanted to support and inspire women who had a good life but had the potential and desire to make it even better, to make changes. And that was an amazing business. Had that for 7 years. That opened doors to corporate training. And I started going into corporations and doing a lot of workshops on leadership. And I don't know, you know how it is when you just say yes, when opportunities come your way and you say, yes, I'll figure it out. Yes. So that's kind of what I did, and then moved more into change management consulting when corporations started downsizing and reengineering and restructuring. So working both with individuals to help them identify career options if they had lost their job through no fault of their own. It was just what companies were doing. Right. And then helping the companies do a better job of managing change internally. So that just expanded and grew. And I guess I spent 20 years traveling around the world leading large global change initiatives. So wow. When you say yes, things start happening. And then wrote 2 books, Defining Moments, about making personal changes, and then Change Ready to help managers manage change in their organizations. So long answer to your question.
Yeah, no, well, that's good. Well, you know, your bio alone is a long.
I know it. I've got to shorten
it. At first, you were doing it backwards. You know, having the kids before you go to college, and you changed it all afterwards. So, congratulations, kudos to you. That's very exciting. You've done a great job. So, this is not a serious show. I don't know if I mentioned that to you earlier before. I like to laugh. So. Let's start off with a defining moment. You've got a couple books out. One is called Change Ready, How to Turn Change Resistance into Change Readiness, and Defining Moments, Seizing the Power of Second Chances to Create the Life You Want. I have done both of those. This is not my first career. I drove transport truck for 25 years. I've been in supervisor and management roles, and now I'm a podcaster. I'm an artist. And there's a lot of us that are like that, especially in the creative industries where there's musicians. Change is all the time, but so it's very easy to focus on whatever your passion or career is that you're doing so that you don't have to change. What is a defining moment? What is a moment that makes somebody change? I guess job loss would come to mind. I don't know if there's better ones than that.
Yeah, it can be an external event, like losing your job or having a health issue or having a relationship end. But there's a moment when something happens that changes the direction of your life and how you had imagined the future. And that's change that we don't choose. So someone makes a decision and that affects your future, and it's something you didn't want to happen. And we all have kind of an imagined future. We're on a certain path. We're in a relationship. We're in a career, and we think, okay, I've made this decision. I'm on this path, and I know what my future looks like. And then an event happens, and that takes away our imagined future, and we have to create a new one. That's an external driven defining moment. Right. Internal driven defining moment is when you just start feeling something on the inside that, oh my goodness, this doesn't work for me anymore. This relationship doesn't work. This job creates more misery than it does challenge and happiness. Sometimes it can be a defining moment because you've heard someone say something and it really touched you. Though my defining moment in going to college was I was working in a part-time job, and one of my coworkers was the same age I was and had 2 children, and she mentioned that she was also going to college. She wanted to become a teacher. And I said, well, I didn't know they would let you go after you were 18. Yeah. was back in the day when adults really weren't going back to college like they are now. And I really thought when I gave the scholarship at 18, I closed that door to getting a degree. So when I saw that she was doing this, she was going to college, and I thought, wow, if she can do it, maybe I can do it. And that was really a defining moment for me. And I followed up on that and signed up for 2 classes. And my husband at the time was kind of like, really? Why are you doing this? But again, it opened that door to an entirely new world. And one of those classes was accounting, which is not, the most fun, easiest class. But when I made A's in both of those, it was like, wow, I can do this. I can do this. And I started doing it. So you can have a defining moment, but you don't take action. And that just remains a thought in your head. So does that help understand what
yeah. So how much are the both of those linked? Because we've all seen the external parts. I mean, that happens to many of us. We see it with colleagues or coworkers or friends. I did it on one of my early jobs. The place went bankrupt. I knew they were going down. Could I have looked for a job? But I was comfortable. I didn't want to go into that job-seeking position, and I ended up losing my last paycheck because I wasn't smart enough to get going like everybody else was. And we've seen people who are possibly homeless, and they look fine. Why don't you just change? But every time that I've made a big change in life, it's been from the inside. And I'm wondering, is the external enough? It has to be, I think, a middle of both. Do you agree? Maybe I'm wrong.
Yes, and I talk about that in my book. Yes, if you're feeling something internally, then you're no longer comfortable in the world that you've created in your environment. But often we'll create circumstances where someone will fire us because we don't want to quit our job. It's scary. But if someone else makes that decision, then it gets us out of there. Or we'll do something in the relationship where it chips away at it and the relationship ends. There are some of us who will initiate the change, but change is very disruptive. And, that's why I think a lot of people try to avoid it. My changes were internal, but that led to changes in my external world, in relationships and the kind of work that I wanted to do. And yes, one affects the other. External, you can really have the reaction of being very angry, and that keeps you stuck. You can have the reaction of blaming yourself and becoming depressed and wanting to hang on to a past that's no longer there. So a defining moment really does move you into the present moment to think about, okay, what now? What now? And often we don't have an answer to that question. And that can be a little scary.
Yeah. Now I'm interested. I didn't have a chance to read your book because we kind of scheduled this really quick. I did go through a little bit of it, but was not able to do the whole thing. But your first book, How to Turn Change Resistance into Change Readiness. Mm-hmm. I talk a lot about that myself, not probably in a formal situation the way you do, but I'm always telling people, keep yourself educated. And that's just the way that I've learned all the things I'm doing today, is because I had an interest and I said, oh, well, what if I learned this program, or what did I learn that program? And a lot of those things that I've learned are what I use today in our business. But a lot of people don't do that. They're resistant to change, like you say. And how can they turn that in? Like, what can people do because when someone fires you, you don't always see the writing on the wall. Sometimes it comes, or sometimes a change happens and you do not see it coming. How do you kind of prepare yourself so you're always ready for that? Is it doing things on the side? Is it a mindset thing? How would you suggest maybe someone kind of keeps ready, especially in this volatile world that we have today?
Mm-hmm. Yes, when we're talking about a career, that's very important because things are changing so rapidly. Jobs are ending. New jobs are being created. And I see the denial all the time in the companies that I work with. I had one project that was restructuring the IT organization and 12,000 employees just in IT. And people would see it happening all around them. Groups of people, like once a month, they would have this meeting and those people would disappear. But yes, we're in denial. It won't happen to me. And sometimes we start working more. We start working longer hours, thinking that we'll become indispensable. They can't run this business without me. And then someone taps you on the shoulder and they can run the business without you. It really gets down to understanding where your security comes from, because so many people believe that their security comes from working for a certain company. And what I started seeing was if someone had been an employee of that company for 5 years or longer, they didn't really know what the world beyond that company was like, unless they had the type of job where they were out engaging with lots of people. But their world, that company had become their world, and they lose their job and it's like, oh, I don't know what I can do. I don't know. And that's because security has been defined by being an employee of a company. Real security is what you know, your skills, your ability and your willingness to learn. And that can't be taken away from you. And so if you want to be ready for unexpected change that comes your way, or even changes that you want to make, then you really have to start thinking differently about security. And that's what I do in career coaching when I'm working with my clients. I have them write down all the, what I call nouns and verbs. And so verbs are what you have the ability to do. Like I can sell, I can develop, I can design, I can manage. These are skills that are transferable. The nouns are what you know, the knowledge. I have a knowledge of the change process. I have knowledge of multiple industries because I've worked with multiple industries. So, you may be very knowledgeable in trucking because that was your world. You may be very knowledgeable now in social media. But you can leverage the knowledge of a certain industry or working with a certain group of people. And you can leverage what you have the ability to do. And once you understand that and kind of have this profile of what you know and what you can do, then you don't have to worry about a company tapping you on the shoulder. You can say, okay, I'm ready. My resume is updated. I know the skills. I know the industry. I know the profession. I know the direction that I want to go, where I want to start focusing. And it's a process. And that really creates your security. And it sounds like that's what you've done for yourself.
Yes. I actually have another podcast, which is a trucking podcast, and that's the larger one. So I'm glad to see that I'm doing things correctly. I always, can use some outside affirmation that I'm going in the right direction. But a lot of people, I'm sure you get this too. A lot of people will tell you, I am too busy. I don't have the means or the funds. Everybody's got a lot of things going on. How do you get past that? How does somebody take that busyness of life that we all experience, especially if you have children? Mine are grown now, so I'm kind of not as tied to that as I was. But still takes that and goes, okay, I need to learn some new skills, or I want to learn some new skills, but I don't have the time. Is there a way that you would suggest they break that down so that in 5 years they do have that knowledge or skill? Because people have a hard time with that, I think.
Right. And I think we overwhelm ourselves. We think, oh my gosh, I have to get another degree. I have to take this class. It's the have to or a should. Yeah. We put that pressure on ourselves. So if you can look at what is the one thing I can do that won't be that disruptive in my life, that will begin to open up new possibilities for me, is that, I hate the whole idea of networking because that does take time. But if there's some group I can join online, on LinkedIn, there are all these groups. I have way too many of them, but it's really fascinating. And so you can make a lot of connections. I mean, there's a huge group for consultants that I'm a part of. There's a Harvard Business School group. And, that's a way LinkedIn is just a wonderful tool. So there are lots of things that you can do on LinkedIn where if you want to devote, 15 minutes a day to get started in that. One of the first things I do when I'm working with my career coaching clients is take them on LinkedIn and have them put in the jobs section, have them put in some keywords, and it can be designing retail stores, and see what pops up. Because the jobs that come up, if that's the area that you want to work in, it will tell you exactly what the skills are that you need. Right. And if you have those skills and you put them in your LinkedIn profile, you're going to attract people to you. So it's a process of positioning yourself for what you want to do next. And LinkedIn makes that really easy. So that's how I work with my clients.
Okay. So there's ways of, creating that learn. I always tell people I do that with my marketing. I actually look outside of my industry when I'm looking for ideas for marketing. Mm-hmm. For this one, as a visual artist, I'm a cartoonist. I'll look at what a musician is doing to promote an album, because you can you can take some of those ideas and turn it into your own without, stealing somebody's ideas
sure.
right straight out. And I find that to be really good. So that's a way of getting ready, learning new skills, having a passion outside of whatever your employment is, so that you're building skills and your network at the same time, depending on what it is, of course. So now we've got that. We've had a defining moment, and now we're going to seize that second chance, which is your second book. See how I brought us in, Rita? That's trying to be skilled as a host. So what makes? Okay, so when you lose your job or career, whatever the defining moment is, it could be a relationship. Been through all of those. Some people get stuck in that where they just can't see outside of the doom of that position or whatever it was, that happened. How do you get people to seize the power, if you will, or go, you know what, I'm going to use this as a way of springboarding into the next life? Is there a way that you do that? Or?
Yeah, there is a transition process that we go through. So you have that defining moment, and it puts you out into this unknown phase. So in this phase, you can get stuck in the past. You can overwhelm yourself with all the things you have to do and should do in the present moment. And you can also be frozen by fear, so you don't move ahead. And so if you understand the change process, you can move through it faster and less disruptive. But let's talk about those three different phases. Because there's a defining moment, and that ends something. It ends a belief you have. It ends a relationship. It ends a job. But something comes to an end. And we can be sad, we can be mad, or we can be glad.
and then sometimes we're all three of those, I might say. I've been through all three of those in the same defining moment.
It's a roller coaster. It is a roller coaster of emotions. And so we kind of, marinate in that for a while, and it's not good, but it's a process of letting go. It's a process of realizing that phase of life has come to an end, and it was good. It got us to where we are today. And now we have to focus on moving forward and letting that go, but taking with it, what we want to continue to keep in our lives. So the relationships that we want to maintain, even if we're not working with these people anymore, the skills we want to continue to use, the lifestyle that we want to continue to experience. So we can take things with us, but that phase of life has come to an end. So then we move into this, what I call the miserable middle, because it's like, oh, I don't know. I have more questions than I do answers. And how do I deal with this? And we overwhelm ourselves. And what I hear people saying, in the ending phase, I will hear a lot of if onlys. If only I had been better prepared. If only I had recognized what was going on. If only I had married that person. So I listen to my clients' language. And if I'm hearing a lot of if onlys, I know that they are kind of stuck in the past and have to help them move out of that toward the middle part. So in the middle, I hear a lot of yes, buts. So I will make recommendations, think about this or look at this. Well, yes, that may have worked for somebody else, but it won't work for me. Or yes, but I'm too old. Or yes, but I don't have time. And as long as you're in the yes, but phase, then you're just going in circles. And it's really frustrating, and it's really stressful, and it's not fun. So in order to move out of that miserable middle yes, but phase, you have to turn that yes, but into a yes, and. Yes, that is difficult, and it's not impossible. Yes, that worked for someone else, and I can look at how to make it work for me. So yes, and moves you into a space of possibilities and exploring. And then you move on to that future, move into, and then to go from yes, and, we can be stopped by the what if.
Right.
So when I hear my clients saying, what if, I know it's the fear of things not working out, and the fear of making a wrong decision, the fear of taking a risk and losing everything, or, we just kind of blow everything out of proportion. And so to work with that what if, we have to turn that into okay, so what if? So what if this happens? I will survive. So what if this happens? I've had things happen to me in the past and I figured it out. And so if we can believe and have faith in ourselves that if it doesn't turn out to be a good choice, well, we'll make another choice. If it turns out to be not the best decision, we'll make another decision. And it's really moving forward with faith and not being overwhelmed and stuck in fear. And it's just, you've been through it many times yourself, I'm sure. Yeah. I have too. And I've, seen many clients go through this. And there is a future, and there is one we can recreate. And change does create an opportunity for us to have a second chance to look at what we really wanted. Yes, and one of my favorite quotes is, it's never too late to become what you might have been. So it really is an opportunity to look at our life and how we want to experience life at this stage of our life.
I know that I've been through a marriage, and I've been remarried now. We just actually celebrated our 18 years anniversary from my second marriage, and at the time, I was really distraught, and now I'm kind of glad. I wouldn't have gotten to where I am now. Nothing bad against the person I was with, but I wouldn't have gotten to where I am now, I don't think, if we had gone down the same track we were going. So, and then same with my career, if when I just quit my job, and I was at a 6-figure job, I just quit to become an artist. That wasn't the most popular decision by a lot of people. And that's what brings me into my next point. When you're going through this kind of defining moment transition, we all want to talk to people. We're going to get a lot of ideas from people we ask for and don't ask for. Who should we listen to? Is there certain people you should listen to? I know I've listened to people who I thought I was getting good information, and actually now that I look back on that part of my career that applied to that information, it was totally wrong. And when I quit, and knowing inside, you know what, Bruce, I knew my work ethic, so I knew I could get a job. I didn't know what the job might be, but I know if I could work as hard in this career, I know I can make it in the next one, and we've been 12 years self-employed. So who should we be listening to when we're talking to people? Should it only be professionals like yourself? Should it be friends, family? I always caution friends and family part. Who would you suggest we talk to in that transition period?
Not the friends and family.
Yeah, good.
Friends and family know you as you are or were, and it's not how you're going to be. And so when we form a relationship with someone, we kind of enter into this silent contract that says, you will be this way, I will be this way, you will do this, I will do this. We'll talk about this, we'll see this kind of movies. It's, we create our world. And when I started college, my family was just so awful. I mean, they were telling me how selfish I was being and all the reasons I was neglecting my husband and my children, and my husband wasn't supported either. And so with all the major changes I've made, I've learned that you have to go outside of your current world to find support. Because when you meet people that they don't know you as you were in your past, they see you as you are today and asking the questions you're asking of them. And so they don't have all that, impression of you. They don't have a vested interest in you staying as you are. They can help you get to the next level. And I think there's not enough written about the impact of change on relationships, because it does affect our relationships. The major changes I've made after college, and then having the Women's Center, and then having a consulting opportunity in California, and ultimately moving to San Francisco, I've had to form new relationships for every change I've made. Some people from my past I've been able to keep, and some I haven't. And family, I mean, you love your family, so you want them to be part of your life, but you have to learn to not listen to what they're saying. My family, who, kept telling me I was being selfish and I shouldn't be doing this and all the bad things that would happen because I was. After I started the business and had a lot of visibility in Nashville and became known, they were telling me, "Oh, I always knew you could do it."
Yeah.
I always knew you could do it. And then they wanted everybody to know that they were related to me.
Right.
So it's like, and I could have been really angry, but I thought, what? It doesn't matter. I'm living with the life I've created and I'm liking it. So, what they're saying is what they're saying, and I don't have to be angry with them. I make choices, I make decisions, and I live with the results of those. But yes, it can be very painful to have friends and family not be supportive. So you do have to move out and find people in other areas. And it may be professionals, but someone who can be objective, someone that's not going to look at mistakes you've made in the past and say, okay, here you go again. Why can't you just be happy? You have a pretty good life. So why don't you just be happy and not think about all these other things? So no, and you will have a feeling inside when someone says those things to you. It will either bring you peace, it will bring you anger. There will be an internal reaction, and you have to listen to that. And I really don't think there are bad choices. I think that, we make decisions based on what we know at the moment. And none of us wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to make a decision today that will ruin my life. Yeah. We don't do that. We make a decision based on what we know. And it takes us somewhere. And maybe it takes us to a place we really don't want to be. But we learn from that. We learn from that and we survive that. And it does open doors to other possibilities. And I will often tell my clients, sometimes there's an in-between stage and you make a decision that's not going to be the ultimate one, but it's going to take you somewhere where you meet people and you learn things you didn't know. And that prepares you for the next one. And you don't really know all that's happening until you look back. Look back at the last 10 years or the last 18 years and the changes you've made and how having a different relationship launched you into a different world.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And I found over time that internal voice has been the strongest voice. So, and it doesn't have to be, a life-changing thing. Sometimes it's just my marketing program. Many times, I love podcasts. I love reading books. I tell people I've never read a fiction book. I only read self-help because I need that much help, and I'm 56 years old. So, but I'm very, if I decide I'm going to learn something, I dive right in, and I usually listen to all the gurus and really investigate it. But then you get overwhelmed, like you were saying, and often I have to just go, okay, I know I should open 20 social media accounts, but really, which is the one I actually like to be on? And let's just work with that one or something, and you have to follow that internal voice, I think, a lot. It doesn't always have to be in a strong, defining moment. Is there a time frame from the time that you think you should make a change to the time you actually do it? I've learned now if I'm going to make a change, I don't do it right away. I used to do it right away and just see how it falls. Now I've learned to kind of leave it on the shelf for a little bit. And if I'm still thinking that way in a week, maybe or 2 weeks or whenever, a year, then I should maybe act on that. Is there a certain time frame we should maybe look at?
No, I think it's different for each individual. And I think it has to do with your level of misery. I found that being miserable was a good motivator too.
Yeah, don't throw out your marriage in a week just because today you're feeling like, yeah, I didn't mean that at all. I didn't mean that at all.
Yeah, no, and sometimes we do blame our relationship when it's not the relationship, it's maybe something at work, or we blame work when maybe it's the relationship. So I think it's a process. I think that's why it's good to talk to someone who can be objective. It's like, what's really going on here? You know, what is it that's not bringing me pleasure anymore? What is it that's causing me frustration? And it is a process of, you know, kind of looking and opening up your thinking to what could it be, and then narrowing it down. So it's kind of opening, narrowing, closing. Yeah. And so that process can take like 30 minutes because we have that defining moment, and that drives us to take some kind of action. Or it could be a process that happens over a 3-year time period. Right. And it does a lot. Change is disruptive. Yeah. And it's disruptive for the people who are in your life. And when I made the decision, I had the opportunity to take a consulting contract in California. And to me, that was really exciting. But it was at the point in my life where my youngest daughter was leaving for college. My oldest daughter was getting married. I could not have made that choice when they were, 8 and 12 years old, because I had a family, and that was a priority. So what I did with college and what I did with starting the business, I was able to do with my family. Moving to California, I could only do if my children were a certain age. And I felt like, okay, now I'm not completely finished with that phase of my life, but it's going to only occupy 30% of my life, where the career can now focus 70% of my life. Right. So it has a lot to do with what's going on in your life. Because we can want to run away. We're not going to do that. We have a family, we have obligations, and the timing may not be right for what we want to do right now. The timing may be right in another 2 years. Right. But to have that kind of vision, I think, is really important. And to realize there will be a time. We can make little changes now, maybe not completely turn the world upside down, but we can start doing something that connects us with people that, haven't been part of our world, connects us with, reading different journals. And it's so easy to do that now, with the internet. You can continually learn that it's a process, and it's good to have some structure around it, because structure gives us a sense of control. I'm doing something this week. I'm doing something today. I'm doing something this month. And I'm kind of charting my course. I don't have to have all the answers. I just have to be willing to open up my world to new possibilities and listen. When I hear something that feels right, then I need to make a note of that. It is a process, and it can be fun. It can be bad. It can be exciting.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing. And I think we could probably go on for hours on this subject. It never could.
We could.
I'm going to just encourage people, if you're even thinking of a second career or starting a new business, or you want to learn you have passion for something, get started. Don't wait until something happens, a defining moment, to go, oh, I'm going to take this on. Maybe start now, so that by the time that happens, you have a new skill or degree or whatever it is you might be going for, and get started on that. Where do we learn more about you, Rita? I know your books are on Amazon. Where should we go to learn about your courses? Maybe people want to hire you to come in and speak to their programs. Where should we go for that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have an author site on Amazon. Right. And so if you just go to Amazon and put in my name, Rita Burgett-Martell, or the name of one of my books, it'll take you to my author site. And on that site, I've written several articles that I've posted there that you can download about the change process, just about having faith in yourself, about different topics. My email is coachrita365@gmail.com. So you can find out. I have a blog that's called Changing the Way You Think About Change. So you can go online and Google that and find that. So yeah, there's lots of stuff out there.
Yeah, and all important stuff, because I've been through. You probably wrote your books on me, and you just didn't know it at the time. I was doing everything in your books there. I've been through all of that, relationship, careers, the whole bit, and it is important, but you kind of have to figure it out for yourself. You know, it's one of those things that people can only give you advice based on their expertise or their experience, and not the way you actually do things.
Yeah, you make your choices based on what you know at the moment, what you're feeling at the moment, and then that's good. It will open up new worlds for you. It's a process, and we're fortunate to be in a world today where we can make those choices, and it's not going to work for a company from the womb to the tomb.
Yeah.
Life is defined for you.
Those days are long gone around here in Canada anyway. I think I'm always amazed when I hear somebody still at a place 30 years or something, because you don't hear that anymore.
I have some clients like that, but less and less you see that happening.
Yes. Now 5 is a long career. Rita, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, and I would advise everybody to go out and get these books off of Amazon, because they are certainly important to all of us, and you never know when the change is going to happen, unfortunately. So it's always good to be change ready, as you say.
Thank you so much. It's been fun having this conversation with you. Really appreciate the opportunity.
All right, so that was a great interview with Rita. So if you're looking for somebody to help you through some of those times, or you need somebody to speak at your event on defining moments in change, then Rita is certainly one that you can do that. There's a couple addresses that you can go to. You can go to changeguru.com, and you can also probably, I imagine, search Rita Burgett-Martell on Google, and you will find it. Her books are available on Amazon, so you can certainly search her name there, and it will pop up. She's got quite a few different ones there. So anyway, lots of information that will help anybody, and probably a good speaker for your next conference. So thank you, Rita, for being on, and we'll take this one out with Tropical Days is North of 49. Enjoy, my friends. Talk to you later.
Out the window, the sun's shining bright. Put a smile on my face, yeah, I'm feeling alright. So I slip on some sandals, shorts and a tee. A glorious day is waiting for me. I'm tired of the grind I've been facing all week. I need a vacation, a little retreat. There's a lake not too far and I'd sure like to go. When I open the door, hell, it's 20 below. But I got a little space heater with a fan right behind, blowing a tropical breeze in my mind. We don't need to travel, this latitude's fine. Today Margaritaville is north of 49. Put down some money on a high-def big screen. It's like being on an island watching Blu-ray of a beach. I see the waves from the ocean crash on white sand while I listen to Jimmy Buffett and the Coral Reefer Band. I've got some chairs from Muskoka, we'll bring them inside. Lean back and relax while booze is applied. I'll be pouring some boat drinks, the tequila is here. And if I can't find the salt, I've got Canadian beer. And I've got a little space heater with a fan right behind, blowing a tropical breeze in my mind. north of 49. Tropical breeze in my mind. I don't need to travel, this latitude's fine. Today Margaritaville is north of 49. I got a little space heater with a fan right behind, blowing a tropical breeze in my mind. I don't need to travel, this latitude's fine. Today Margaritaville is north of 49. North of 49.
Need to know more about your host or the show? Check out your host at bruceoutridge.com and learn more about the show at Cashing In on Creativity Podcast.